It is the 12th of October, 2018, at a gravel airstrip in Yellowknife, Northwest Territories, and Captain James Carter sits inside the cockpit of an aircraft that is 90 years old by design and newer than any turboprop flying the same route. The Douglas DC-3, or what appears to be one, sits on the ramp with its tail wheel on gravel, its twin Pratt Whitney Canada PT6A-67R turboprop engines turning, and its fuselage stretched 40 inches longer than the original Douglas production line ever delivered. The instrument panel carries GPS navigation. The engines burned 30% less fuel than the Pratt Whitney twin Wasps they replaced. The aircraft can carry 2,000 pounds more than the original airframe was certified to handle, and it can do it from runways that no modern turboprop regional aircraft has ever been approved to use. Captain Carter advances the throttles, and the Basler BT-67 begins its takeoff roll.
Why, with 90 years of engineering progress behind the industry, is the most capable aircraft for remote operations still a Douglas DC-3 with new engines bolted on? Why has no design bureau, no manufacturer, no government program produced a clean sheet aircraft that does what the DC-3 does from the surfaces the DC-3 uses at the cost the DC-3 demands? A replacement was promised in 1949. The Super DC-3 failed. A replacement was found in the Fokker F-27 Friendship, and it was more capable on paved runways, and it was retired.
The Douglas DC-3 did not begin as an aircraft intended for 90 years of service. It began with a telephone call. In 1934, American Airlines chief executive C.R. Smith called Donald Douglas and persuaded a reluctant Douglas to design a sleeper aircraft based on the existing DC-2 to replace American's Curtiss Condor II biplanes. The DC-2 cabin measured 66 inches wide, too narrow for side-by-side berths, and Douglas agreed to proceed only after Smith committed American to purchasing 20 aircraft. Chief Engineer Arthur E. Raymond led the design team, and the prototype Douglas sleeper transport first flew on the 17th of December 1935 with Douglas Chief Test Pilot Carl Cover at the controls. The cabin of the new aircraft measured 92 inches wide. A day passenger version, seating 21, was designated the DC-3. No separate prototype was built for it. The first DC-3 followed 7 Douglas sleeper transports off the production line and was delivered directly to American Airlines. American Airlines inaugurated passenger service on the 26th of June 1936 with simultaneous flights from Newark, New Jersey and Chicago, Illinois. The DC-3 could cross the continental United States eastbound in 15 hours with 3 refueling stops. It carried passengers in greater comfort than any previous airliner and did so without the mail subsidies that had made earlier American air services economically viable. By 1939, at the peak of its dominance, around 90% of all airline flights on the planet were operated by a DC-3 or a variant of it.
Civilian production of the DC-3 ended in early 1943 at 607 aircraft. During the war, more than 10,000 U.S. military versions were built under the designations C-47, C-53, R-4D, and Dakota. Peak production was reached in 1944, with 4,853 delivered in that year alone. Licensed copies were produced in Japan as the Showa L-2D, 487 aircraft, and in the Soviet Union as the Lisanov Li-2, 4,937 aircraft. Total production across all variants reached 16,079. After the war, thousands of surplus military DC-3s entered the civilian market at prices far below what any new aircraft could be delivered for. A new DC-3 in 1936 cost between $60,000 and $80,000. By 1960, used examples were available for $75,000. The market was flooded, and the economic case for a replacement did not exist. The DC-3 had not been designed to dominate its era for 90 years. It had been designed to replace a biplane, and it had done far more than that.
The DC-3 was a low-wing metal monoplane powered by two radial piston engines of between 1,000 and 1,200 horsepower, with a cruising speed of 207 miles per hour, a range of 1,500 miles, and the ability to carry between 21 and 32 passengers or 6,000 pounds of cargo. It could operate from short, unprepared runways. That last characteristic was not incidental. It was the defining reason no replacement ever took hold. The DC-3A-S1C3G, the most thoroughly documented variant, measured 64 feet and 5 inches in length with a wingspan of 95 feet. Empty weight was 16,865 pounds. Maximum gross weight was 25,200 pounds. Service ceiling was 23,200 feet on both engines and 9,000 feet on one engine. These numbers taken together produced an aircraft that could arrive at a dirt strip, shut down on its own, board passengers without ground equipment, and depart on a surface no regional jet certified after 1980 would be approved to use. The Basler BT-67 addressed the one structural liability the original airframe carried, the piston engines. Basler Turbo Conversions, operating from Oshkosh, Wisconsin, replaced the original radial engines with Pratt Whitney Canada PT6A-67R turboprop engines, lengthened the fuselage by 40 inches through a plug inserted ahead of the wing, strengthened local sections of the airframe, and fitted modern avionics. The conversion produced an aircraft with 30% better fuel economy than the piston original, a higher payload, and a service ceiling above 26,000 feet. The PT6 engine had a demonstrated time between overhaul exceeding 3,000 hours. The original Pratt & Whitney R1830 ran to approximately 1,000 hours between overhauls. From the early 1950s, other conversion programs had attempted the same objective. DC-3s were modified to use Rolls-Royce Dart engines in the Conroy Turbo 3. The Mamba Dakota conversion used two Armstrong-Siddeley Mamba turboprop engines. The Greenwich Aircraft Corporation DC-3-TP extended the fuselage and fitted Pratt & Whitney Canada PT6A-65AR or PT6A-67R engines. South Africa-based Braddock Specialized Air Services International, referred to as BSAS International, performed Pratt & Whitney PT6 turboprop conversions on more than 50 DC-3 and C-47 airframes, delivering the variant designated the C-47-65 ARTP. As of 2024, the Basler BT-67, fitted with additions for cold weather and unprepared snow surfaces, continued to operate in Antarctica, including regular landings at the South Pole during the austral summer.
Douglas addressed the question of a replacement itself. In 1949, the company launched the Super DC-3, a substantially redesigned variant with the fuselage lengthened by 39 inches, a different outer wing with squared-off wingtips and shorter span, a taller rectangular tail, and more powerful Pratt & Whitney R2000 or 1,475 horsepower Wright 1820 Cyclone engines. The civilian market received it positively. Only 5 were completed for civil use, 3 of which entered service with Capital Airlines between 1950 and 1952. The U.S. Navy converted 100 of its early R-4D aircraft to Super DC-3 standard during the early 1950s under the designation R-4D-8/C-117D. The last U.S. Navy C-117, serial 50,835, was retired from active service in June 1982. The last U.S. Marine Corps C-117, serial 50,835, was retired from active service in June 1982.
Outside the Super DC-3 program, no manufacturer produced a clean sheet aircraft that replicated the DC-3's combination of short field performance, payload, operational independence, and acquisition cost. The Fokker F-27 Friendship came closest on paved regional routes and was commercially successful, but it required longer runways and more developed ground infrastructure. The United States Forest Service used the DC-3 for smoke jumping and general transportation until the last example was retired in December 2015. By 2017, more than 300 DC-3s and military derivatives remained airworthy. As of 2023, approximately 150 were still flying. The Basler BT-67 did not fail. As of 2024, it remained in active commercial and government service on routes in northern Canada, Antarctica, Africa, and Central America, surfaces and conditions for which no competing aircraft held full operational certification.
The oldest DC-3 still flying is the original American Airlines flagship Detroit, construction number 1920, the 43rd aircraft off the Santa Monica production line, delivered on the 2nd of March 1937, and still appearing at airshows around the United States, operated by the flagship Detroit Foundation. The oldest surviving Douglas sleeper transport is N133D, the 6th DST built, manufactured in 1936, delivered to American Airlines on the 12th of July 1936 as NC 16005, and confirmed flying again as recently as the 25th of April 2021. The aircraft that lifted off from Yellowknife in October 2018 was a Basler BT-67, a 1930s airframe, a 1980s engine certification, and a 21st century operational record on surfaces that no new aircraft would ever be designed to use. The answer to the question raised in the opening of this video is this: the DC-3 was never replaced because the economics of replacement never justified the engineering of a successor, and because the airframe Douglas produced in 1935 was structurally sufficient to carry modern engines, modern avionics, and modern payloads without a new type certificate. A new DC-3 would cost more to certify than the entire market would return, so the only replacement for a DC-3 remains another DC-3. Have you ever seen a Basler BT-67 operating in the field, in the Arctic, in Africa, in Antarctica? Drop it in the comments, which operator, which route, what year. We want to know.